Good morning, America. You're listening to the Financial Quarterback Radio Show. My name is Ernesto Caleri. I am the host, Josh Jelinski, the Financial Quarterback's weekly wingman. I offer the man on the street perspective. And this morning, we have none other than Professor Laurence Kotlikoff. He's a William Fairfield Warren Professor at Boston University. He's also a Professor of Economics at Boston University, a fellow of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, and he's here to talk about his new book as well. Good morning, Larry. How are you? Great. The last time we spoke to you, you were in Europe. How was that trip? Great. So you have a new book. It's called Money Magic, An Economist's Secrets to More Money, Less Risk, and a Better Life. Tell us about the premise behind this.
What economics advice is to the general public, basically because they didn't have enough machinery to do it. And I've been developing software we've discussed on the show for many years now. Over the years, for actually 29 years, our tool is called Maxify, maxify.com, and it's really quite magical. So I said, well, look, not everybody wants to run software. If they did, I'd be a millionaire, billionaire, but they don't. So let me take all the things I've learned from running the program and my own general knowledge about finance and economics and bring it all together in a book and talk about all aspects of personal finance, from choosing whether to borrow for college to deciding when to retire to thinking about reverse mortgages to figuring out whether to do a Roth conversion, how much is too much housing, and figure out ways to safely raise your living standards, safely lower your risk, and make decisions where you know what things cost in terms of your living standard. Like if you get divorced, is that worth it? Do I hate this person enough to have my living standard drop 30%? And so I discuss all the different topics in personal finance, and it's got a cool cover of the book. It's coming out January 4th. Money Magic, An Economist's Secrets to More Money, Less Risk, and a Better Life. There you go.
Okay, well, we're back. Hey, this is Josh Jelinski. How are you doing, Professor Kotlikoff?
Great.
So what's keeping you busy? You got your new book, Money Magic, out, available for pre-order. Why should we buy it?
Well, I think it'll change everybody's thinking. The blurbs are unbelievably fantastic, strong. Money Magic is a must-read. This is from Jane Bryant Quinn. She's the She was the dean of personal finance for the Washington Post for decades. John Malden, who's a very got like a million person reading list for he sends out
Malden is one of the
an email.
most widely read emails in the world. Yeah,
right. Yeah, and he says it's Money Magic is financial for economics, delivering nonstop financial shockers, all based on common economic sense. You'll love this amazing book. It's full of wisdom and startling paths to a better financial life.
Where's your money? What's the Money Magic website? Where do you want people to buy the book? Did they go to Amazon? Did they go to moneymagic.com? What's the website for the book?
Oh, Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. There's Indie, which is small bookstores. There's a website to buy it from a small bookstore. So anywhere you can go to your local bookstore and just ask them to order it for you. And it's fun. It's a fun read, I think. I spent a lot of time writing every sentence and rewriting every sentence to try and make it amusing, not just a how-to guide. It talks about Social Security scams that they're running. It talks about just about every aspect of and the scams that are being run with respect to student loans by the federal government. It talks about reverse mortgages, which I think is to a large extent a bit of a scam being endorsed by the federal government. So it's trying to keep people safe with some knowledge that they might not otherwise have. And then just the general way that economists approach personal finance, which is basically smooth your living standard, save enough so you don't run out of money, find safe ways to raise it, and then figure out how to protect it, understand the risk to your living standard you're incurring. For example, there's a whole discussion about what's called upside investing, which is a really cool way for people, especially in the middle class, to be in the stock market but not have any risk whatsoever to their basic living standard, never experience a decline in their basic living standard.
So what are some money magic secrets? Give us some tips.
Oh, well, I mean, I just gave you, which is okay. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you about this upside investing, which is how do you do that? Well, suppose you think about all the money you have in the stock market, all the money you're going to add in the stock market to the stock market through time, and then you also have a plan for when you're going to start withdrawing the money from the stock market and when you're going to stop. Okay, so those four things. So then all the rest of your assets you invest in inflation index bonds or something else that's really very, very, very risky, safe. Sorry, very, very completely safe. So with the stocks, you proceed as if all that money that's in there now and all the money you're going to be adding to it is lost 100%. And what's left, you then spend such that you'll be able to maintain your living standard. So you set a living standard floor based on all your assets that are perfectly safe. And then what happens is that when you start to withdraw from the stock market, whatever is in the stock account, you take the money from the stock account, and now you invest it in safe assets. At that point, maybe you're 55, you start withdrawing. You're able then, under this strategy, to raise your living standard a little bit on a permanent basis because you've taken money out of the casino and invested it safely. This is like casino gambling. We leave our living standard back at the hotel. We leave our wallet at the hotel, our credit cards. We don't use our credit cards to buy chips when we're at the casino, and we don't spend anything more. We take like $200. That's the money we put in the stock market. We play the roulette wheel, and then when we leave the casino, if we have any money, we get to spend more. That's the same idea here. You don't spend anything out of your risky assets until you have made them safe, and then that way your basic living standard can never go down. It can only go up. That's upside investing. That's a good trick.
Now, what about, you mentioned Social Security secrets. We're going to allow the opportunity for the Listeners typically have Social Security questions. If you need them answered, we have the number one guy in the country on Social Security. Give us a call, 800-321-0710. And when we return, we'll be back with Social Security tips. Also, PPP scandals that you've uncovered. When we return, this is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
It's always on your mind. Retirement, whether you're 55 or 35. Not everyone wants to work forever, and most would like a comfortable retirement. You may already have a plan, but is it the right one? Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program, is ready to guide you towards financial freedom. He challenges the ways your parents and grandparents saved money with fresh strategies, which are exactly what you need to navigate today's volatile economic climate. Josh's new book, Retirement Reality Check, is available to order on Amazon. It's an easy read that guides you through his system for securing your financial freedom, including tax-saving strategies, understanding the right investment mix, and more. Order now. Retirement Reality Check. Call Josh at 888-988-JOSH. Let Josh help you map out your retirement using fresh strategies. Call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674.
Hey, meet you out on the first tee?
Yeah, I'll be right there. Just reading this article.
On what?
New bill Congress passed. Looks like it's going to affect the value of all retirement savings plans. My financial guy didn't tell me about this when I saw him the other day.
Well, my guy did, and we made a plan. You may have heard of him, Josh Jelinski.
Josh Jelinski is your guy?
Listen, if you're 10 years or less from retirement,
which I am,
Josh will give you a free economic plan, which includes retirement planning, a 27-point checklist to make sure your income lasts as long as you live. He'll even help you navigate the current tax code.
I'm definitely going to call Josh.
Cool, but first, can we play some golf?
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program, for your free economic plan. 888-988-JOSH. 888-988-JOSH. 888-988-JOSH.
Are you worried about the recent coronavirus crisis and how it may have affected your money? Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, inviting you to join me for my complimentary 6 Ways to Keep Calm During Turbulent Markets webinar. If you schedule and keep your no-obligation webinar today at 888-988-JOSH, it's a great thing to do. If you're stuck at home under stay-at-home orders, call us right now, 888-988-JOSH. If you're bored, there's never been a better time to get a second opinion on your wealth than right now. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. And go to my website, retirementrealitycheck.com today and take your free investment profile quiz. And when you buy my book, you're eligible for 3 free gifts. 888-988-JOSH.
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program. 888-988-JOSH.
Hi, everybody. We're with Professor Laurence J. Kotlikoff talking about all matters financial. So, Professor Kotlikoff, what are some Social Security secrets that our listeners need to be aware of? And, folks, if you have a question, call us 800-321-0710. If you have a question, chime in now, 800-321-0710. Go ahead, Larry.
The book has Chapter 3, Social Security 10 Secrets to Maximizing Your Lifetime Benefits. And I would say, just to start with, you have to know what the benefits are. If it's use it or lose it with Social Security. If you don't, if you're eligible for benefit and you don't apply for it, they will not give it to you. So they may give you 6 months in arrears that you've lost, but you could be 75. There's no reason to wait to take your retirement benefit after 70. And people do this. They think they're still working. They think they're somehow not eligible. They are. They're eligible even at much younger ages with no loss of benefits from full retirement age, which is heading towards 67. So anyway, somebody might contact me and say, well, can I get my benefits that I understand I should have been getting since age 70? And the answer is no. They'll give you 6 months, but that's it. So there are 13 benefits, and there's the benefits for widows. There's benefits for divorced widows if you were married for 10 years. There's benefits for a spouse who is taking care of a disabled child. There's benefits for the disabled child. There's And all these benefits have rules associated with them. There's 2,728 rules in the Social Security Handbook, and that's just the basic rules. But then there's rules about those rules, which go into the hundreds of thousands. So you need to know what to do with each benefit and how to time things. And one of the most important things with respect to retirement benefits for most people, I would say about 85% of Americans should be waiting till 70 to take their Social Security benefit, and only 6% are waiting. So that's a huge differential there. So there's a huge amount of money that people are leaving on the table with respect to Social Security. I mean, we're talking about the first or second largest financial asset for the vast majority of American households. And, this is with inflation going nuts right now, you want to have a much bigger share of your resources coming from Social Security that are inflation because they're inflation protected. So that's where waiting and being patient will give you more inflation protection in terms of your total resource base. So, I mean,
So we're going to go to the phone lines, and we have John, who has a question on Social Security for Professor Larry Kotlikoff, Laurence J. Kotlikoff, author of Money Magic, An Economist's Secrets to More Money, Less Risk, and a Better Life. I'm going to tell you the one thing I disagree with on your book as well later on, but everything else, I love what you're saying. So go ahead, John.
Hey, good morning, Josh and Professor. I retired this past June at 69. I'm going to wait until next year to collect my Social Security at 70, the max. My question is, if I should die, my wife at 62, will she get my Social Security, the max?
Yes, she'll get your check less her the benefit her retirement benefit as a widow's benefit. But if you add, it sounds like she's the lower earner, so if you add together her retirement benefit and plus what's called the excess widow's benefit, the two together are basically going to be your check, and likely be exactly your check. So, but she has to wait till her full retirement age to collect her widow's benefit, her excess widow's benefit actually, without losing, getting a lower benefit for taking her excess widow's benefit early. So she has to be patient if you were to pass away like the day after. Now, another thing I want you to know is that Social Security will probably call you in a few months and try and run a scam on you, which is to say, hey, take your benefit now. Well, actually, we'll give you a check. If you take your benefit, we'll give you a check for 6 months benefits, and we will. So you get a big number, and you'll start getting your Social Security right away. And they will probably not tell you that what that involves is giving you, yes, some money, but a lower monthly benefit for the rest of your life than if you wait till next July, when it's really at the max. So don't take that scam. They're running a scam. My dentist was hit by this scam. He actually fell for the deal, and I'm sitting in his chair, and he's, I asked him what he's doing with Social Security. He said, well, I waited till to get the max. And then he says, and you know what? They called me a few months before I hit 70, and they said, hey, if you start now, we'll give you an extra 6 months check. And then I had to explain to him that he'd been scammed by Social Security. And he wasn't too happy. My bill ended up much bigger.
Is this Social Security or just scammers?
No, this is Social Security, the Social Security Administration. Yeah. Oh, they're running scams with respect. It's in the book. They're running scams with widows in terms of how they're bilking 13. They built 13,000 widows out of about $130 million, according to their own Inspector General, and they have not fixed it. They have not. The Inspector General did a report about 2 years ago, said, you guys have run a scam. It was based on a whistleblower. I wrote about it several times in Forbes, a guy named John McAdams, and it works out of the Philadelphia office. Social Security, and they have decided not to go back, not to find these widows that they scammed, not to pay. In some cases, they, deprive people of hundreds of thousands of dollars because I can get into the details of how they did it, but I'm not sure it was necessarily purposeful in the sense that a staffer can easily check off a box when you apply for widow's benefits if you apply for them when, let's say, before your full retirement age. He can check off a box where he has you file in effect for both your widow's benefit and your retirement benefit at the same time. And that's not something you want to do. And when you do that, you can lose a lot of money from one of the two benefits because you're only going to get the larger of the two. Whereas if you just take one of them, the other will grow. And when you start taking the other one, it can be much higher than the one you started taking. And you'll flip on to taking that one. So in other words, one benefit's your retirement benefit, the other is your widow's benefit, and you don't want to start taking them at the same time because you only get one.
Okay, so next we have Pete, who wants to know a good age to take Social Security and your opinion of the Biden economic plan. Go ahead, Pete.
Good morning, Josh. Long-time listener. I love your show. I listen to you every weekend. I even caught Larry's show with you the last time. My question is, I'm 62 now. I've always listened to your show. I got my answer. I should always wait to the longest. Is that correct?
Well, it's not true for absolutely everybody. You could have a disabled child and a spouse who is taking care of the child who can collect benefits on your record. So in order for them to start collecting benefits, you have to start collecting your retirement benefits. So it's not the case that absolutely everybody should wait. If, let's say, you were single and you were diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and you only have 2 years left, well, maybe you're 68, you've got 2 years left, you would want to start taking your benefit immediately because otherwise you'll pass away having gotten nothing. But suppose you have let's say a wife who's going to collect a widow's benefit off of your record after you die. Well, then you wouldn't want to take your benefit at age 68 because if you wait till 70 to take your retirement benefit, even if you don't collect a penny, you die the day you hit 70, or let's say right before you hit 70, you die. Well, she'll get a 16% higher widow's benefit the rest of her life. So, it's different for every household, but most people should be waiting till 70 to take their retirement benefit, and most people are not.
Very good. Very good. I have one more question. The last time you were on the show, you made a comment that Biden was doing a great job. What do you think now how he's doing a job? Because I disagree with you, and I think a lot of other people in America disagree.
Well, inflation is, if you're talking about inflation, which is running close to 7% this last month, that's a tough thing. But there's been enormous printing of money going back from 2008. So under all the different presidents since 2008, we've had the Federal Reserve printing a massive amount of money. They're running huge deficits. The fiscal system is completely broke. And countries in that kind of position end up using the printing press to pay the government's bills. So, and then we also have these bottlenecks that are associated with COVID. Is this Biden's fault? No. This is the result of, a past policy as well as COVID. What's he done in terms of he's tried to pass an infrastructure bill? Is it that big an amount? No, it's far too little. It's actually the additional infrastructure spending relative to what we've done in the past is about $50 billion a year. It's a drop in the bucket. The social, the Build Back Better plan, it's got some very important benefits for, and also some money to improve Amtrak, some money to stop our emissions that's going to kill our kids. Why is any of this bad? Why is Biden engaged in something bad? He got us out of Afghanistan. very, very important. We had to do it. He didn't do it, the best way possible. There was no best way to possible to do this, but he was the first president to do it. You look at his record. You got a guy who I think he's the best president since Kennedy, and probably even better than Kennedy in terms of achieving things. So I don't see any problem with Biden, to tell you the truth. And I'm not a staunch. I ran against as a writing candidate against Trump and Clinton, so I'm not a Democrat. Okay, I'm just looking at a guy.
Larry, we've had rampant inflation, the highest levels of national debt. The infrastructure bill is a joke. It's only $400 billion we're going for infrastructure. It's an absolute. I don't know. I love you, but
it's a joke because it's too small, or is it too?
And we still have the pandemic. We have rampant inflation. We have rampant money printing.
Josh, one thing at a time. Is it a joke because it's too small, or a joke because it's too big?
Let's stay tuned for the break on the cliffhanger. I mean, you got to call a spade a spade. You would call out Trump every time you were on the show, and now we have arguably the highest levels of inflation. By the euro dollar and what's going on there, we may have a deflation and a market crash next year, the likes we've never seen. So anyway, we'll talk about that when we return. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback here. In these uncertain financial times, it is imperative that you guard your financial future. If you call within the next 3 minutes, we will offer our complimentary bear market survival guide, which will detail steps to help your plan to potentially survive the COVID-19 crisis. The bear market survival guide will cover how you might still be able to retire amid a volatile economic climate. We will throw in our complimentary 27-point ultimate game plan for retirement. Call us at 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674 for your bear market survival guide.
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH.
Okay, we're back. I didn't know Larry liked President Biden so much, but I thought you were
Josh, I don't like Biden.
I thought you were against increasing the national debt, but
I am, but this is something that all the presidents starting back with Eisenhower have done. So yes, I've faulted him, and I've talked about this in public. So I don't think that everything he's doing is perfect on the economy. But by the way, when I was criticizing Trump, it was really rarely about the economy because I don't think he did anything too damaging. I think the tax bill was pretty good, the 2017 tax bill. So when I was criticizing Trump is because he was I don't want to use any kind of bad language on the radio.
I don't want to go into your distaste
when you run an
insurrection. We asked about Biden. How could our national debt is hovering around $30 trillion, unfunded liabilities are around $161 trillion. I mean, you've uncovered that.
Yep.
I mean, that's your research. I think.
Right. I've been written books about that for decades, but it's all happened over time. And Biden hasn't significantly worsened it. But he needs to address it. There's no question. He needs to address it just like Trump needed to address it, just like Bush needed to, just like Obama needed to. Obama and then Bush before. None of these people have been fiscally responsible adults, as far as I'm concerned. We need to have a discussion as a nation about how much we're screwing our kids, and it's getting worse. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, according to the Congressional Budget Office, the Build Back Better Act would cost $3 trillion, far higher than the alleged $1.75 trillion price tag. And I believe very little of it actually goes for infrastructure. I think $752 billion goes to child care and preschool funding. Another $700 billion goes to the SALT deduction, which disproportionately benefits the wealthy. Another $220 billion goes to Affordable Care Act subsidy. Another $135 billion to the Earned Income Tax. Anyway, I don't want to get political. So,
we could talk about each
disagree.
one. We could talk about. Let me just say one quick thing here, Josh. If we do something like a preschool for kids, we're ranked 30th in the world in terms of taking care of starting kids off in terms of educating them before they get to first grade, and if we do this, the kids will have a much better chance in life. And it's really, economists have shown where the work of Jim Heckman, who's a Nobel laureate, that early investment in children is absolutely crucial. Now, you don't need to run a deficit to invest in kids. You can raise taxes or to do that, and that's what we should be doing. We shouldn't be leaving the bill for our kids to pay for preschool for America's children.
There you go. We agree. And I think it's misleading to the public when they say it's an infrastructure bill when really it has all of the pet projects. I personally think if we were to give some type of income tax credit or even a pool of money for people who choose to homeschool their kids, for people who want to stay at home, that would be a far better use of dollars than universal pre-K. It's very tough if one parent chooses to stay at home to educate their children. I think personally, as the parent of 7 homeschooled kids who are learning Latin and Greek and all of these amazing things, I think they're the future. I think they're going to change the world for the better. So maybe little Josh will study with you at BU. But anyway, let's go back to the book. We're going to reveal some financial shockers. Sorry, we got off on that digression.
That's okay. We're going to do this all month.
It's good radio.
How you doing, Josh? I love you. What's going on with you? Are you okay?
Wonderful. Well, we got Anthony. Well, real quick.
Yeah.
He's saying winning a $2,500 lottery prize complicated his Social Security disability. Go ahead, Anthony.
How you doing, Josh? What's going on today, buddy?
Great.
I tell you that they send me a letter saying that they want to take the money. First, they tell me that, did you win a lottery ticket? I said, I think I did about it almost a year and a half ago. Well, you have to write us a letter that you won the ticket. I says, okay, I'm going to take your word for it that you won the lottery for $2,500. I said, I did. I'm not going to lie to you. I did. Well, you have to write us a letter and send it to us. And I says, really, do I? All right. I'm not going to lie, but I'm living on $800 a month, and they want to take this money out of that. I don't understand if I could do anything about this. They're trying to get me a hearing. Can I do anything about this?
Well, this is Social Security. Are you getting stuff in writing from them, or is this just over the phone? I want to make sure it's not a scam over the phone.
No, it's not a scam. I know I won the lot. I won $2,500 in February last year. They sent me a letter, but they wanted to confirm that I won it, and they wanted the tax form. I am legally blind. I'm blind, basically. So letters come, I don't see them, whatever the point may be. Anyway, but they sent me 2 letters, and then, since I told the lady that called from Social Security that they made an appointment for me, she said, I'm going to take your word for it, but just send in a letter so I can put it in your case file. Okay, but I didn't send you the letter yet. After I get off the phone with her,
I'd like to have you get in touch with me because my email is kotlikoff@gmail.com because this sounds like Social Security is making some horrible moves on many people, and your lottery money should not. It's like a windfall. It's not earned income. It should not be impacting your benefits, and it might be impacting your Medicare Part B premium. So that's possible, but they shouldn't be taking money kind of for the out of your own Social Security retirement benefit. That's doesn't sound at all kosher.
This is disability. Because I am blind, it's Social Security, SSI, disability. Do you understand? I never got.
Well, they may have. Okay, I want to check on that too. I mean, there may be an income. I thought the income limit on this was earned income, not just. But there may be a separate income test on this disability benefits that goes beyond the earned income. So let me check on that. Just be in touch with me, and we'll check.
Okay, so folks, if you have a question on Social Security, we'll try to not keep it political. We have arguably the best Social Security expert in the country. Give us a call, 800-321-0710. Although that would be good radio, right? If we just got in a fight.
Yeah.
So
you and I have a good time with us.
I like you too much, though. Anyway.
Well, we don't really disagree. If when we really get into the details, I don't think we disagree.
Yeah, it's really the fundamentals of the debt. all of those things we agree on. Greg has a question regarding Medicare Part B. I don't know if you can answer this, but go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, thank you. I'm scheduled to retire from a large corporation at the end of January in 2022, and I applied for Medicare Part B. I also have a very good medical insurance program with the corporation. Circumstances have changed, and I'm not going to retire in January. Can I cancel that Medicare Part B application that I've put in? I haven't heard from Social Security yet on that.
Yeah, let me just ask a quick question. Have you also filed for your Social Security benefit?
Oh yes, yeah. I'm 73, so I'm collecting. Yes.
Yeah, if you're working for an employer with 20 or more employees, if you're going back to work, then you can just, as far as I understand, you can file a form to withdraw your participation in Medicare Part B. You have to be in Medicare Part A, which means you can't. The only problem with that is that you cannot contribute to a health savings account on a tax deductible basis once you are collecting your Social Security benefits and are on Part A. But with respect to Part B, yeah, you can withdraw your participation in that and just provide some evidence that you are working for an employer with 20 or more employees, and here's their plan, and have your employer, send you a statement that you can transmit to Social Security as evidence here of that fact.
Okay. All right. Terrific. Thank you very much for your help.
Yeah.
So, Larry, let's talk about your financial shockers as revealed in your new book, Money Magic. These are some major ones. The poor should hold stock. The rich should hold bonds. Now, that's quite counter-conventional. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'll give you a really simple example. Suppose, Josh, you were, let's say, single, to keep it simple, and you had maybe you're 65 and you're getting $30,000 a year in Social Security, and you had $10 in assets. So you're pretty poor, right? So if you put all that $10 in stock, what's the worst that could happen? You lose the $10. Your living standard is not at risk, right? Now let's turn it around. Suppose you're getting $30,000 in Social Security, but you have $10 million in assets. If you invest, let's say, 60% of that in stock or 50% of that in stock, and the stock market goes to hell, which it did, let's say in the Great Depression, went down 86%, you can lose half of your living standard basically, in short order. So you're at much more risk if you are rich from investing in stock, because you have no real floor to your living standard that's independent of what happens to the stock market. So it makes perfect logical sense to
be more conservative the richer you are.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just one of the many.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Here's why. I meet with so many people. They have attained a degree of financial success. Let's say they have $4 million in the stock market. If you lose 40% and you have $4 million, like people did in March of 2020. By the way, this happened not just in the Depression. It happened between 2007 and 2009, 2000 and 2002, and in March of 2020. And each of those periods, market at a 30 to 40% correction. You have $4 million, you lose $1.6 million. That hurts.
No, absolutely. And, the shockers there's a zillion shockers in this book. Every other page is a shocker because nobody's really conveyed what economics has to say about what basic finance tells us. It tells us that that in retirement, what you should be doing is investing a bigger share of your financial assets through time in the stock market. That sounds crazy, right? But it's actually perfectly logical. And the reason is that as you're going through retirement, you're working down your financial assets. You're spending them down. So you've got more and more of you're becoming more and more like a bond in the sense that you've got the Social Security benefit, which is like a bond, like holding a bond. And it's essentially a bond that's inflation indexed. It's a great bond. But you've got less and less in the stock market because you're working down your assets, your financial assets. You're spending them down. So in order to maintain a balance to your portfolio, you want to take a larger share of that smaller, increasingly smaller number and put it into stock. So the retirees, as they age, should be investing a bigger share of their financial assets in stock. But it's a bigger share of a smaller number.
Well, we'll talk about that more and other financial shockers when we return. One of the next one is borrowing for college is one of the riskiest moves you could make. The other is going to an elite college like the one you're a professor at doesn't pay. And we'll talk about more financial shockers when we return. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Hey, meet you out on the first tee?
Yeah, I'll be right there. Just reading this article.
On what?
New bill Congress passed. Looks like it's going to affect the value of all retirement savings plans. My financial guy didn't tell me about this when I saw him the other day.
Well, my guy did, and we made a plan. You may have heard of him, Josh Jelinski.
Josh Jelinski is your guy?
Listen, if you're 10 years or less from retirement,
which I am,
Josh will give you a free economic plan, which includes retirement planning, a 27-point checklist to make sure your income lasts as long as you live. He'll even help you navigate the current tax code.
I'm definitely going to call Josh.
Cool, but first, can we play some golf?
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program, for your free economic plan. 888-988-JOSH. 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 It's always on your mind. Retirement, whether you're 55 or 35. Not everyone wants to work forever, and most would like a comfortable retirement. You may already have a plan, but is it the right one? Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program, is ready to guide you towards financial freedom. He challenges the ways your parents and grandparents saved money with fresh strategies, which are exactly what you need to navigate today's volatile economic climate. Josh's new book, Retirement Reality Check, is available to order on Amazon. It's an easy read that guides you through his system for securing your financial freedom, including tax-saving strategies, understanding the right investment mix, and more. Order now. Retirement Reality Check. Call Josh at 888-988-JOSH. Let Josh help you map out your retirement strategies. Call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674.
Okay, we're going to go to the financial shockers, but we have a ton of questions. We have Rosemary, who is confused. One of your financial shockers in your book, Money Magic, which we're giving away to listeners who call in right now at 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674, is widows are getting screwed. Social Security is systematically scamming widows, and we have one who is on the phone right now. Rosemary, go ahead.
Thank you. A quick question, and it is on clarification. Thank you, Josh. I turned 65 in May this year. My husband passed away 3 years ago when I was 62. I inquired about widow's benefits. I was told that if I made over $17,000 a year, I could not collect until I was age 65. And at 65, I could make $1 million a year, and it wouldn't matter. I would then collect. So I called around my 65th birthday to inquire. I was told that now I needed to call back and apply when I was 66, and 4 months is when I was, allowed to apply. About a month or so ago, I'm talking to my girlfriend who's just turned 65 and is a widow. She's been a widow longer than I. I am employed still. She is not. And she called Social Security, and she's now immediately getting widow's benefits. So how are there two different answers, I guess, Professor, to the same question here on
they do have something called an earnings test. And if your friend who's a widow is not working, she would not have been subject to the earnings test. You are subject to the earnings test, so that any benefit, whether it be your retirement benefit or your widow's benefit, or if you're a spouse, so at this point, spousal benefit would be subject to the earnings test. But there's a little known secret, one of the many secrets in the book, that talks about the fact that if you lose benefits due to the earnings test, you end up basically getting them back. Almost everybody does in the form of higher benefits once you reach full retirement age, because they bump up your benefit in light of how much they took away from you due to the earnings test. So at some level, the earnings test doesn't matter. But in your case, it sounds like you are earning enough money so that you would, due to the earnings test, lose all the benefits, and getting them back later at a higher level is just like no different from just waiting. So, yeah, you need to optimize your lifetime Social Security, and I would say our Maxify software, maxify.com, is exactly what you want to run, because it will get exactly straight what you should do on Social Security. It's going to maximize over Social Security and other choices to help safely raise your living standard. That's the value of the software tool. But the book will also help significantly understand what's going on.
Okay, so thank you. So basically, you're saying that it's fine to apply at 66 and 4 months for the widow's benefit. And to your point, I had planned not to touch, to apply for my own until I'm 70. So that, but when I'm 70,
that will grow.
70,
yeah. So that will keep growing, and you'll get delayed retirement credits. And you want to make sure that when you apply, that in the remarks section of your application, you say, absolutely, back and white, I'm not applying for my retirement benefit. I'm waiting till the month I turn 70 to take my retirement benefit. Do not pay me my retirement benefit. Make sure you have a printout of that. Make sure that, it's, do it online, type it in, print it out, because they will screw you if they have a chance, because they will do it out of ineptitude, out of nastiness, whatever it is. They are making mistakes left, right, and center. I just was dealing with a widow. She's 68. She gets a letter from Social Security that they want $118,000 back from her on her widow's benefit. She's living off of Social Security, okay? No explanation. This goes on for 3 months. They tell her if she doesn't start paying back, they're going to dock her check. November comes around, they don't send her a check. And I'm writing about this in Forbes, and fortunately, somebody very senior at Social Security read the column and went to bat and got this thing fixed. But had I not written about this in Forbes, this lady would be starving.
Yeah, and
there was absolutely no reason. They apologized for some computer mistake. We have no idea why they made this. Was the most straightforward case. She did nothing wrong. They took away her benefit she almost had a stroke. Imagine getting a letter in the mail, you owe $118,000 from the Social Security Administration, and saying, we're going to dock your pay, stop making payments to you until 2037. That was in the letter. I saw the letter.
Wow. And folks, that is why we offer a resource to you free of charge when you schedule and keep your no obligation review, 888-988-JOSH. We will have you armed with the facts so that you could calculate your highest Social Security benefits. Make sure you're not getting screwed out of widow's benefits, widower benefits. The MaximizeMySocialSecurity.com calculator, you could go to that website, or you could schedule your free review today, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. And then up next, we have Pat and then Ed on Social Security questions. This is where you get really hot, and our listeners love you. So give us a call, 800-321-0710.
We're not talking about Trump. That's a good thing.
And we're having fun. Get the book Money Magic today, or you get it for free when you schedule your year-end review. You may not like his politics, but you love his financial education. And we'll be back after these messages.
Are you worried about the recent coronavirus crisis and how it may have affected your money? Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, inviting you to join me for my complimentary 6 Ways to Keep Calm During Turbulent Markets webinar. If you schedule and keep your no-obligation webinar today at 888-988-JOSH. It's a great thing to do if you're stuck at home under stay-at-home orders. Call us right now, 888-988-JOSH. If you're bored, there's never been a better time to get a second opinion on your wealth than right now. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. And go to my website, retirementrealitycheck.com today and take your free investment profile quiz. And when you buy my book, you're eligible for 3 free gifts. 888-988-JOSH.
We
Call
want to
Josh
keep him on
Jelinski,
just to have
host
fun
of the popular
with
Financial
his
Quarterback
shockers.
Radio program, 888-988-JOSH.
Okay, we have all these people calling Professor Kotlikoff. They want your advice. Well, we're not giving any financial advice, but they want your tips. We have Pat, who is concerned a $100K salary could affect his Social Security. By the way, what is the tip? Like, some of this gets lost. The tip for widows, if you lose your spouse before the full retirement age, they should generally, if they have significant income, let theirs delay till 70 and they take the widow's benefit from when to when? 60 to 70? How does that work?
If they want to take their widow's benefit before, in that case, where they're a high earner, so that their retirement benefit, inclusive of the delayed retirement credits that you would get, which are very significant if you wait till 70, would be higher than the widow's benefit. So in that case, which is what you're describing, they'd want to wait on the retirement benefit. They'd want to take their widow's benefit first. You can take that as early as age 60. So if you've got somebody who's not working, not going to lose their benefit due to the earnings test, starting at age 60 makes sense. You can't actually go, if you took your benefit at age 60 and you lost some of it due to the earnings test, the amount that you didn't lose, you could, would be worth something. You wouldn't want to not get that. And then again, between full retirement age, your widow's benefit will be bumped up in light of how much you lost due to the earnings test. And then from, say, 67 to 70, you're going to get a higher number. And then at 70, you're going to go on to your own retirement benefit. You'll get the higher of the two benefits starting at 70, which will be your retirement benefit. So, the general principles of how to handle this are outlined in Money Magic, and then the specifics in the software. Either we got this Maxify tool that you're using with clients, or the Maximize My Social Security tool, which you're also using, which is just focused on Social Security. You can get your clients, the people on the phone, the answers here, and keep them safe, and make sure they're not scammed by our own Uncle Sam. Now, you say you may not like my politics. My politics are not that the government is perfect here in any way. I think
we
I'm
agree
really down
on the unfunded liabilities. I remember as a child, just to tell the listeners what a difference you made in my own life. I don't know. I was like 20, and I read your book with Burns. What was that book? The Coming Generational.
We had 2 books. One was called The Coming Generational Storm. The other was The Clash of Generations.
The Coming Generational Storm, and that changed my life. So you made a profound impact on me as I was just starting out in the financial industry.
Interesting.
And I read your book.
It's a very conservative, it's a very conservative perspective. We have to care about our kids. I mean, and I don't know if I don't say Republican, Democrat. It's just basic adultness.
That's bipartisan.
You got to take care of your kids. It's bipartisan.
And whenever this storm breaks, and the Fed has been trying to stave off that storm, it's like the boy with the finger in the dike. Eventually, this storm will overtake us. We still have time as a country to fix this, but it's getting less each year. And
this is why I ran for president, because, as a write-in candidate in 2016, I just thought, we have to get so many things fixed. Education, we need to preschool, help young kids to get education, whether it's at home.
We'll take a short break. If you want to stay on, we will keep
I'm happy to, yeah.
Professor Kotlikoff through the break talking to Pat and Ed. Ed fears that he fell for a Social Security scam. Folks, give us a call now, 888-988-JOSH, and you get the book Money Magic. I'll also talk about the two things I disagree with in the book. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
WOR and WAXQ HD2 New York, an iHeart radio station. Available everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts.
He's back on New York radio. John Batchelor, weeknights from 9 till midnight on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
An iHeart radio station.
52 degrees at 10 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Paul DeCastro. Devastation in the middle of our nation overnight. Dozens of people may be dead in Kentucky and other states after a series of tornadoes and powerful storms tore through at least 6 states. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear with a grim announcement at a news conference this morning.
And as we're sitting here today, and this is before daybreak, we believe our death toll from this event will exceed 50 Kentuckians.
In all, at least 25 tornadoes have been reported across 6 states. In addition to Kentucky, Arkansas, Illinois, Missouri, Mississippi, and Tennessee have all been hit by storms. In Arkansas, at least 1 person is dead and 5 others seriously injured after a tornado struck a nursing home in Monette. And crews have been working through the night in Edwardsville, Illinois, near St. Louis. It appears there are multiple fatalities after an Amazon warehouse collapsed in a likely tornado.
Police now say there were about 50 workers inside the Amazon warehouse when the building collapsed Friday night. Search and rescue's gone on all night, slowed by concrete, steel, and other debris.
We had to also request additional assistance to secure concrete and the structure there to make it safe for the first responders to go into the site.
Edwardsville Police Chief Mike Philback. He confirms there are fatalities.
There's more than one. There's at least 2 at this point.
Wendy Wild reporting.
Fire officials are investigating the cause of a blaze at a New Jersey home that resulted in the death of a child early Friday. The fire broke out at a 2-story home on Eastern Avenue in Somerville around 2:15 in the morning. An 8-year-old girl died and several others were injured, including a 9-year-old child. That child transported to a burn trauma center in critical condition. And just a few seconds ago, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin rocket lifting off from West Texas. Former New York Giants star and Good Morning America host Michael Strahan is on board. And also on board, among the others, the daughter of legendary astronaut Alan Shepard. WOR Sports. Well, the Knicks fell to the Raptors 90-87. It was the Nets over the Hawks 113-105. On the ice, Rangers skated past the Sabres 2-1. The Devils coming up short against the Predators 3-2. And college football today, it's the Army-Navy game at MetLife Stadium. Kickoff at 3 o'clock.
Here's your WOR Weather Channel forecast. More rain will fall this afternoon ahead of a cold front as the high climbs up to 64. As the front moves through tonight, rain will taper off. Winds will gust in from the west overnight with a low 42. And then a sunny and cooler into the weekend on Sunday with a high of 47. A little bit warmer to start the week Monday with a sunny sky and a high in the low 50s. I'm meteorologist Jeff Marr.
Next news at 11. Start your day with Len Berman and Michael Rito in the morning, 6 till 10 weekdays. I'm Paul DeCastro on 710 WOR, an NBC News radio station.
Tired of losing money in the stock market roller coaster? Frustrated with the government taxing you into oblivion? Worried about inflation? How do you prepare for so many financial uncertainties? Welcome to the show that will help you develop your game plan. The Financial Quarterback with Josh Jelinski. Josh is a noted financial advisor and president of the Jelinski Advisory Group, and he's here to answer your questions. Call into the show at 800-321-0710. 800-321-0710. Now, let's kick off your financial future. Here's Josh Jelinski.
Okay, this is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, and we will feature a question by a young intern, new intern at the firm. He'll get to ask Professor Kotlikoff any financial question he has, along with Pat, who is concerned that a $100K salary would affect Social Security. Go ahead, Pat. You're on with Professor Laurence J. Kotlikoff. Good
morning, and thank you for taking the call.
Best-selling author of the new book, Money Magic, An Economist's Secrets to More Money, Less Risk, and a Better Life. And I'm going to talk with him about one of my favorite concepts that, and it's a financial shocker in the book. The financial planning cartel today is conventional financial advice is an elaborate bait and switch, and how economics holds the key to personal financial planning, which I know you love to talk about. But first, we'll go to Pat, who's been waiting patiently. Go ahead, Pat.
Thank you for taking the call. I appreciate it. So my situation is I recently reached my full retirement age. I had planned to take Social Security. My wife is already taking Social Security for the past 6 months or so, and therefore it would get her the benefit of the spousal benefit, half of mine. But I continue to work part-time as a consultant where I'm making round numbers, $100,000 annually, as well as I have investment income. And I was curious to know what effect my continuing to work would have on my benefits, and is it detrimental to the point where I should delay taking my my FRA?
Yeah, your Social Security. Well, you're in one of those situations where running the software is really important, and it depends on what's your maximum age of life, what is her maximum age of life actually, because if you take your benefit early, you're going to lower her potential future widow's benefit, excess widow's benefit, and so let's say you wait till your full retirement age, what she will get is the current benefit she's now getting, which is I presume her reduced retirement benefit, plus what's called her excess widow's benefit. So it's going to be, excess spouse benefit. So it's going to be two pieces. It won't be exactly half of your full retirement benefit. It'll be lower if she took her benefit early. So just to make sure that you understand that. And then if you wait, you'll get a much bigger retirement check. But then if you kick after age 70, she'll get a much bigger widow's benefit. So in general, the software will say you should wait unless there's something special going on about your maximum ages of life. If you know for sure that you're not going to make it beyond a certain date, and she won't, then it's going to change the calculation.
If I did take my benefit, with my FRA, which is in a month or two, because of my income, and also I have investment income, does my payout get reduced or it just gets taxed?
Your benefit will get taxed, but it won't get the earnings test ends the day you turn full retirement age. So you're not going to be subject to the earnings test, and in any case, the earnings test is only connected to your earnings, labor income, not to your asset income. But Social Security, but all these things can impact your taxes, and your Social Security benefits can be subject to taxation. And one of the secrets in the book Money Magic is that for a lot of people where it looks like a Roth conversion is a great idea, if they're taking Social Security already and they're in a low tax bracket, they're retired, they start doing a Roth conversion, it can kick up their Social Security benefit taxation dramatically. So they think they're in a low tax bracket, but if they convert too much, bingo, they're going to find that they've actually raised their lifetime taxes rather than lowered them. Plus, 2 years later, they may find that their Part B Medicare premiums have gone up, and that's due to what's called the IRMA, the income-related premium. So all this is discussed, yeah.
Good. Understood. And one more time, the website that has the tool, if you could repeat that, I appreciate it.
It's just maxify.com, MAXIFI.com. But my suggestion is go to Josh and let him run it for you or with you.
Very good.
Because he's a great planner. I'm critical of financial planners in the book. I'm critical of the financial planning industry's methodology. I'm not critical of financial planners because I think they use their own common sense. They just haven't had the right tools to use. But Josh is using the right tools in my view. He's using economics-based planning tools, which is
just exactly the right thing to do. So I love financial
Thank you very
planners. I don't like their methodology.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Thank you very
And also, by the way, you could have the planner with the same tool. We got to do like a financial tool review website, because I've used eMoney, right? And I've seen eMoney used for good or for bad. So you could have the same advisor with the same tool, and if they don't have critical thinking skills, you could retire and your plan could say 100% probability of success, and in reality, it's using overly optimistic modeling assumptions.
Yeah.
And that's a big one, because a lot of people say, oh, I went to a planner and they used eMoney, for example. Well, I've seen the same person, right, at 90 with no money with 6 million. How? Why? People don't understand the rule of compounding. And so some of these plans, if you give yourself a 7% static rate of return and a 3% inflation rate, you're probably going to be fine. But nobody gets 7 every year consistently. There's sequence of returns risk. There's all that stuff. Do you want to comment on that and how it relates to your book, Money Magic? And then, Ed, hold on. You were scammed by Social Security. Maybe we're going to talk about that. But first, Professor, talk about what I just mentioned.
Yeah, so I have a whole discussion of investment and how to think about investment risk. And it's really about your living standard. It's not the conventional tools like eMoney or, I'm going to not adjust my spending through time after retirement in light of how the market does. But that's completely stupid. I mean, economics says that if the market crashes, and you've got a lot of money in the stock market, you're going to drop your living standard. You're going to drop your spending. If it goes up, you're going to increase your spending somewhat so that you can continually try and have a smooth living standard from that point forward. So I talk about the fact that economics tells us to look at the profile of our living standard trajectories, what kind of outcomes we could have to our living standard if we invest this way and spend this way. If we invest aggressively, if we spend aggressively, we can have a lot of downside risk. But we're not going to just sit there and spend the same amount year in and year out, independent of what happens to the market. So our entire perspective on how to think about investment risk is entirely different from what a tool like eMoney or Money Guide Pro is producing. And almost all the financial planners out there, not you, Josh, but everybody else out, not everybody, but large fractions of them are using those two tools. And I think they're giving nobody in a top finance program would use one of those tools. Nobody teaching finance, nobody with a Nobel Prize in finance would let anybody use those tools to think about their finances. Just would not happen. Anybody tried to teach using those tools at the Wharton School would be fired in 10 minutes. Okay, so that's the big disconnect. And it's not the planner. The planners are stuck. A lot of these planners are working for big companies where they're told, like Fidelity, you have to use eMoney. Fidelity owns eMoney. So they're telling all their planners, and they've got maybe tens of thousands of them, you have to use eMoney with your clients. Well, it's not.
And 99% of them use it wrong. Meaning if you or I are on eMoney and we have it programmed, we could say, change this variable, change this variable. But you don't even, it took us, we did a little internal review of eMoney, and we ended up getting it to where it was okay. But it took us about a month of daily interaction on there to figure out the flaws. Because it's not spending focused. It's probability and statistics based on Monte Carlo. Nobody ever lives the Monte Carlo life. And also the Monte Carlo simulation theory of you have a 68% chance of success is dumb. Because who would ever get on a plane if the pilot came on the loudspeaker and says, excuse me, you have a 33% chance of failure? You wouldn't go on the plane.
No, absolutely not. And the really dumb thing about that methodology is it's assuming that you're going to spend, let's say you're 50. It assumes that you're going to save what you're currently saving right up till, let's say, 62 when you retire. And then you're going to spend your targeted spending amount independent of what happens to the market, and that you're never going to adjust anything, and then it just accumulates. A fourth grader could do this on Excel. It's really trivial, primitive methodology under the hood here, these programs. And it's coming up with the probability that these trajectories are going to fail or not fail. And obviously, if you put more money into higher yielding securities, you get a lower failure rate. And that leads people to think, okay, this is safer. But if you actually look at what happens to your assets, the smaller number of bad outcomes are much worse. That's the thing that people are missing. That the downside becomes much worse because nothing's for free. If you can't get a higher average returns without taking risk. And where is the risk coming in? It's not the probability of absolutely running out of money. It's the degree to which you run out of money and how fast you run out of money.
And it's also real life, meaning we plan things when we go through modeling, like, and this happened to you, I know, in March of 2020. And I thank you for being honest, because we have so many people on that they pretend that they didn't sell in March of 2020. But people were scared. It felt like the world was ending. We were headed through another depression. A lot of people sold and never bought back in the market. So that stuff needs to be modeled. That one day your spouse or significant other who normally defers the financial decisions to you opens the mail and sees the financial statement revealing a 40% loss in a month or a 20% loss in a month. And you have a choice. Are you going to sell to prevent a heart attack from your spouse or a stroke? Or are you going to stay in it? And many people, if they're honest, from 2000 to 2002, I met people. I came of age in the financial planning industry watching people that I really respected, smart engineers from Lucent, go from being millionaires to being 100,000aires overnight. And it changed them and gave them a healthy distrust for the market their whole life. Gave me a healthy distrust. So we'll talk about that. I love this. It's kind of going a different direction than I thought it would, but it's actually a really good show. So we will hold on, and then we will talk about Ed, who fears that he fell for a Social Security scam. And I want to get your take on what I just said too, Professor, because I know you probably have really good tidbits. But you hear these people, they say, oh, this guy called the stock market crash, or this guy called the market zenith, whatever. This guy made all this money. And then you buy that subscription and you lose 40%.
Yeah. Let me respond real quick to that. I agree 100%, Josh, with what you're saying. The economics tells us that, and statistics show that the stock market evolves as a random walk. If it goes down, there's no guarantee it's going to go back up. And that's why, if you lose 40%, your spouse doesn't know it. Your spouse knows that it may not go back up and wants you to get out. And that's really what you're conveying. So, but what economics also says, what finance says, is that as things get riskier, you want to be more safe. You want to time the market for risk, not for return. In other words, you can't look at the market and say, gee, it's low, I'm going to make a killing by going in now. Because the market is evolving, the returns in the stock market evolving as a random walk. If it's low now, it could be even lower tomorrow. So you don't time the market, you don't go in or out because of where the market is. But if things get riskier, like we have COVID we've never seen, then you want to reduce your holdings of risky assets because the environment is riskier. So that's just basic 101 finance, that you reduce. So you time for risk, not for return, and that's discussed in the book Money Magic.
That's a great point
as well.
So let's hold that thought. Yep. When we return, we'll be back with Ed, who fears he was scammed by Social Security, or maybe even a Social Security scam. When we return, this is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, and get the book Money Magic, 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH, and we'll reveal more financial shockers. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback here. In these uncertain financial times, it is imperative that you guard your financial future. If you call within the next 3 minutes, we will offer our complimentary bear market survival guide, which will detail steps to help your plan to potentially survive the COVID-19 crisis. The bear market survival guide will cover how you might still be able to retire amid a volatile economic climate. We will throw in our complimentary 27-point ultimate game plan for retirement. Call us at 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674 for your bear market survival guide.
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-JOSH.
Are you worried about the recent coronavirus crisis and how it may have affected your money? Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, inviting you to join me for my complimentary 6 Ways to Keep Calm During Turbulent Markets webinar. If you schedule and keep your no-obligation webinar today at 888-988-JOSH. It's a great thing to do if you're stuck at home under stay-at-home orders. Call us right now, 888-988-JOSH. If you're bored, there's never been a better time to get a second opinion on your wealth than right now. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. And go to my website, retirementrealitycheck.com today and take your free investment profile quiz. And when you buy my book, you're eligible for 3 free gifts. 888-988-JOSH.
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program. 888-988-JOSH.
Okay, we're back. Our young intern has many questions for you, Professor Kotlikoff. Okay. We'll get to those questions later. I do want, let's go to this one guy who's been waiting for a long time, Ed. He fears he was scammed. Go ahead, Ed.
Yes, thank you so much for taking my call. Appreciate it. Sure. Just about a year and a half prior to my retirement, I had open heart surgery, and that was back in 1997. When I did retire a year and a half later, I did go to the Social Security, sat down, and asked what would be best for me to do. And, of course, not being that knowledgeable, obviously, at that time, I was told and convinced to take my Social Security at 62. I did say I know if I wait longer, that I should be getting additional, more benefits than what I would be getting at 72. I don't recall what it was. I was told, considering the minute amount that you would be getting, you're better off. It'd be a no-brainer than to take it now. And also, if you should pass, because I told them about my surgery and what have you, everything will be in order for your wife to get the proper Social Security as well. Basically, that's what I was talked into, and he based it on my possibly passing. And now, over the years, when I see what I've lost in that time, in 13 and a half years now, I thought I wanted to bring this forward. Because it was not a question of what would be best over the long term, but that I should take it at that moment. And I feel I was talked into.
Yeah, they did. I wouldn't, what you dealt with was somebody who absolutely is a moron about Social Security, who works for Social Security. They gave you terrible advice. Unfortunately, I don't think there's anything you can do unless you had a recording of that advice, but because they're not supposed to give you any advice whatsoever, but they do give you advice, what they think is advice, but it's almost at least half of everything you hear from Social Security is either entirely wrong, incomplete, or misleading. You do not want to ask Social Security any questions. Obviously, you've already made your decisions here, but just in general for the listeners, don't ask Social Security anything. Tell them what to do for you, because the people there are just arrogant, and they're underpaid, they're overworked, and they think they know it all.
With someone at the health insurance company. I called the woman from United Healthcare. Told me I had a medically necessary, my kid almost died in June. I don't know, this kind of gets me livid. And we had 3 medically necessary transports. And this company, AMR, which I can't believe they're getting away with this, charge us $10,000 to transport a a day-old baby from a basic hospital to a life and death kind of hospital, children's hospital in Philly. We had 3 medically necessary transports, $10,000 a pop each. Then the insurance company paid, let's say, $5,000. I go, I already hit my maximum out of pocket. I already paid the $12,000 deductible. Go, why am I having a bill for $5,000? They go, oh, that's because it was beyond legal and customary. And it's like you're dealing with these people. And I mean, it's how whole life is screwed up. Maybe you can help me on that.
Well, first of all, how's your child? Let's start there.
Wonderful, thank God. So they prey on, and I'm fighting.
Ignorance. They prey on ignorance. That's what they do.
Well, it's all in fine print. You know, they say, okay, you've got, here's the rules, here's your max amount of pocket. But what they don't say, and you need to check with the doctors, a surgeon before, or anybody, is that certain things just are not. They say, well, that's not in our purview. So you could have a medical procedure, and they say, okay, well, here's your. You've reached your out of pocket, but then there's these extra costs that you get billed from the hospital that somehow are completely outside of the insurance policy. And it's in there in the fine print. So you have to talk to the hospital in advance and the surgeon and say exactly what will my bill be from you guys and from the health insurance. You got to really.
Yeah, you don't do that, Larry, when you're sticking your kid on a ventilator.
But of course, in an emergency, you have no time to do that. You had to just transport your child.
I mean, here was the thing. Have surgery for my child at Brick Hospital, which, they did the best they could, or go to Children's Hospital in Philadelphia, and
Yeah, you go to Children's in Philly, no question. Yes. I'm from Pennsauken, New Jersey, so my dad had the first and last department store in Camden.
Kotlikoff,
and so I know all about, and I went to Penn, so I know all about Children's Hospital in Philly.
And they saved
one of the best in the world.
My kid's life. They did great. So.
Yeah, they're fantastic. Doctors and nurses are just the heroes of the day.
They're amazing. Pat, who got screwed by Social Security, the one thing, and I want to, or Ed, here's the thing.
Yep.
We have had Professor Kotlikoff on for 12, 13 years. So since my 20s, like my late 20s, basically. He came on. We did Social Security shows when they weren't popular. I was actually probably one of the first people to do them in the country. Before, I know you know Carlin Tucker, he did them after me. There was a bunch of people. Then Social Security became big. So I've been doing this since I was in my 20s, talking about Social Security. We offered the free Social Security Maximizer tool, MaximizeMySocialSecurity.com. You can go on there, pay the $40. It's well worth it. Or you call us. We give it to you for free when you schedule and keep your no-obligation review. In one sense, maybe you're a new-time listener, but if you're widowed, if you've had a loss, if you have a Social Security strategy decision, you should always check with that website first or call us at 888-988-JOSH. We do it for free. And sure, do we want business? Do we want you to become a financial advisory client of our fee-based firm where we do fiduciary planning, wealth quarterback? Sure. Would we like your business? Yes. But if you choose to not use us, that's your prerogative. But the advice is priceless. The tips, and because we can't give you financial advice over the airwaves, because we don't really know all of your data points. So call us at 888-988-JOSH. Thank you, Ed, so much for the call. Now, Professor Kotlikoff, we were talking about financial planning software and financial planning. Anything you'd like to add on that? Because we went straight to Ed and then we took a break and all that stuff that we didn't bring up.
Well, I just think, the most important thing is that for people to know that there's an entirely different set of views that economists have about what you should do with your finances and how to think about them, and that there are lots of tricks for safely raising your living standard. It might involve dealing with your housing. It might involve doing a downsizing your home, understanding during COVID, my wife and I moved to Providence. I talk in the book Money Magic about the fact that we raised our living standard on a permanent basis, I think by about 12%, by my wife realizing that the housing price per square foot in Providence versus Boston was 1/3 as high for the same comparable type quality home. So we moved to a 1720 house in Providence, fantastic place, and it's literally one of the oldest houses in the country, and dramatically lowered our living cost, expanded the size of our home. So these days you can, work in Bali. I have a friend who works in Bali, and he works in New York, but he lives in Bali. Okay, and he has servants helping him. Not sure. I guess people helping him, making dinner for him, cleaning his house. He lives a great life right on the beach, and he works on the net. And so there's all kinds of ways to safely raise your living standard. You can take your money out of your Roth or your traditional IRA and pay off your mortgage. That may be one of your best financial moves. Or pay off your student debt or pay off your credit card debt. If you have money in a mortgage and you have money in your retirement account in the stock market, what you've in effect done, as I describe in the book, is borrowed money to invest in the stock market. Now, how many people just out of the, if you think about it, would go out of their way to take out a mortgage, to take the money, to borrow money via mortgage or some other means in order to invest in the stock market? Unless they've got a gambling addiction, they're not likely to do that. So that's the situation most people are sitting in. They don't realize that that's what they've done, and that they do have an opportunity to undo that, to lower their risk and actually get a higher return, because the mortgage, the safe payment that you have to make, interest payment on the mortgages, exceed what you can safely earn in the market these days. So there's a clear arbitrage here. But people will say, well, no, I want to leave the money in the 401k or the Roth, the IRA, the traditional IRA, or the Roth, because it's in I put it in stocks, and the stocks are going to make a killing. Well, there's no guarantee stocks will do well in the long run. The stocks are riskier in the long run. That's another financial shocker. Most people are being told that stocks are safe in the long run, that they go down, they're going to come back up. Not true. There's no guarantee of that whatsoever. Stocks, all the evidence points the other way. And indeed, if you wanted to try and buy insurance against the stock market dropping, the further out you try and buy that insurance, if you try to say, well, I want to insure myself against it falling below 30% from where it is now, out, from 5 years from now till into the future. Well, it's more expensive if you want to insure that from 10 years out into the future, because the possibility of it dropping just below some level gets higher and higher the further out you go. That's the nature of this random walk stock market that we've got. And it's just, basic
people
finance.
Think that may sound outlandish, but if you look at the Nikkei, right? The Nikkei did like nothing for how many years? I mean,
long time.
And
really.
And if you consider where we are, the Nikkei, which, in the 90s, you'll forget this, people were worried about the Japanese economy overtaking the US and all that. What was it, the second biggest economy in the world? 1991.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm just on Google. Nikkei 225 index was 25,000 March of 1991. It did not recover for 30 years. And just
Absolutely.
recently has it started to go up relative to where it was 30 years ago. And we have a very similar, we're a little bit, demographically, we're maybe 30, years removed from them. So we'll talk about that when we return. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback. Don't touch that dial.
It's always on your mind. Retirement, whether you're 55 or 35. Not everyone wants to work forever, and most would like a comfortable retirement. You may already have a plan, but is it the right one? Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program, is ready to guide you towards financial freedom. He challenges the ways your parents and grandparents saved money with fresh strategies, which are exactly what you need to navigate today's volatile economic climate. Josh's new book, Retirement Reality Check, is available to order on Amazon. It's an easy read that guides you through his system for securing your financial freedom, including tax-saving strategies, understanding the right investment mix, and more. Order now. Retirement Reality Check. Call Josh at 888-988-JOSH. Let Josh help you map out your retirement using fresh strategies. Call 888-988-5674. That's 888-988-5674.
Are you worried about the recent coronavirus crisis and how it may have affected your money? Hi, everybody. I'm Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, inviting you to join me for my complimentary 6 Ways to Keep Calm During Turbulent Markets webinar. If you schedule and keep your no-obligation webinar today at 888-988-JOSH. It's a great thing to do. If you're stuck at home under stay-at-home orders, call us right now, 888-988-JOSH. If you're bored, there's never been a better time to get a second opinion on your wealth than right now. 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674. And go to my website, retirementrealitycheck.com today and take your free investment profile quiz. And when you buy my book, you're eligible for 3 free gifts. 888-988-JOSH.
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program. 888-988-JOSH.
Okay, we're back. This is Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback, taking your calls on all matters financial. 800-321-0710. If you want to talk to arguably one of the most knowledgeable experts on Social Security in the country, call us now. Larry Kotlikoff, one of my father's favorite guests of all time. And Money Magic. By the way, you got to tell your publisher the Amazon link isn't live on the price. So
it's not, if you go to Amazon.com, it's
if
not,
you go to Amazon.com, and this is, by the way, I know you're big on exposés about the government and PPP and Social Security. I'm going to give one on Amazon, but anyway, we don't want to. They're so powerful.
You go to Amazon.com and put in Money Magic by
I'm
me.
putting in Money
It
Magic,
doesn't come up?
and it's saying your book is $29. But then I go to the Hachette publishing group, and it's $14.99. So.
Oh, that might be the Kindle edition or something.
Okay.
Or the audio edition. That's probably the difference.
Hardcover. Who has hardcovers anymore? That's
well, this
that's
is it's a beautiful book. It looks like you just got to buy the book for the cover. The cover is just fantastic. It's this.
The cover is beautiful.
Magician's Hat. Yeah, I don't know if you haven't actually seen the. I don't know if you've seen the actual.
No, the cover is a white background with a crisp green letters, and then origami bunnies in a black magic hat. Correct?
Yeah, and the bunnies are made out of dollar bills.
It is great.
It's just fantastic.
An economist's secret to more money, less risk, and a better life. That's a great subtitle too. So folks, get the book. Yeah. The Kindle edition is $14.99. The hardcover edition is $29. Or I will buy it for you if you schedule and keep your no obligation review. The audiobook. But folks, get the book.
Guess who's doing the audiobook?
Who?
Josh.
Me.
My son Alex.
Oh, great!
I got 2 sons, and we listen to the editor who does the audiobook says listen to these voices, and I said, well, could you listen to my son who narrates who puts our videos together at Maxify.com? You should just listen to his voice because he's doing the videos. He's the voice on the videos. And she decided she liked the voice, and he read the book. So he's the author of the audiobook.
I'll tell you a funny story. I got turned down from reading my first book. I'm going to negotiate that in my next contract. So people thought
they asked me to read it, but I can't read. I can write, but if I start to read, I'm going to make a mistake even the first sentence. But my son's fantastic at this, and it's just such a
fun thing to have your son read your book because, first of all, we have got this thing going, my two sons, that they don't really think so much of economics. So this is the first book I forced him to read in this manner. This is my first of 20 books that he's had to read. So I'm not sure whether I'm happier that I forced him to read the book or that I got him to do the audio. I think I'm more proud that he actually did the audio.
No, I was trying to get my wife in on some financial stuff this week because she's actually smarter with money than I am. Very frugal, but she just has no interest. She says, I married the financial quarterback. I said, what if I die? You know, she goes, well, I'll go to Chris, who's my vice president. So I go, you have the best, she has the best business sense. She has no interest. And
yeah, the book, I really try and look out for women in the book because Social Security has a lot of things that women need to know because they're lower earners, because they've been staying home, taking care of, bringing up kids. On average, they're still lower earners than males. And
women really get screwed on Social Security when they go into the office.
They get screwed, yes, when they get talked down to. And then there's divorce. Something like half of the 50% of marriages are ending in divorce. Depending on what state you live in, you can get really screwed over. So when you get married, you shouldn't be thinking about getting divorced because there's a very high chance that that's going to happen. And nobody on their wedding day thinks they're going to get divorced. But half of the people basically will. There's 4,000 divorces occurring a day. So I really give very strong advice about how to get divorced, but also how to do it without going to war. And what state to think about living in, because if you live in Texas and you're, let's say, staying home to take care of your kids or homeschool them, and you live in Texas and you're helping your husband have a career and you're giving up your career, you're going to get nailed by Texas law, divorce law. Whereas if you live in Massachusetts, it's a different story when it comes to alimony. So you have to think carefully about what state you want to live in on the divorce issue, even if you just got married, okay? You got to be thinking ahead. You got to think about prenuptial agreements. If you sacrifice your career to help your husband, what kind of an arrangement will happen if you get divorced?
And if you have kids, meaning you may have a great marriage, but if you leave all of your money to your children, what if they get divorced? So you got to think about all that stuff. Dynasty trusts, all that good stuff.
It's complicated, yeah.
That's why you need the financial quarterback, folks. Give us a call, 888-988-JOSH. Next up, we have Dan, who wants to talk about risks and time horizon. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, thank you so much for taking my call. As always, a great show. Thank you for putting it up, okay, Josh?
And thank you to Professor Kotlikoff. I mean, this guy gets 50,000 a speech, and he's talking to us for free. So
he's the greatest, and I heard him on your show in the past. So thank you again. Okay.
I wish I was getting 50,000 a speech, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Okay,
wait, I should be your agent.
Okay,
feel free, Josh. Go ahead.
Okay, so in the past, I was always told, and it seems like it's working. Okay, that if you invest for the long term here, okay, eventually you'll come ahead. Okay, it's true there are dips. Okay, and you noted very well March of 2020 and before. So it always goes there, but it always bounces back there. Okay, so saying all this, okay, okay, the way I structure some of my holding here is that I have my fixed income, which I use for income, and I have my equity growth for growth. Okay, so even if the market dips down there, okay, I still would get the income that I need for living on, and I have the growth component. Okay, so the growth component maybe drop down 40, 50%, whatever. Okay, but but if I'm looking,
Yeah, let me just jump in. I think you're engaged in upside investing. So if you read the book Money Magic, I will describe, I describe in the book this strategy for investing and spending. And it sounds like you're really following this. You have some safe investments, which you're living off of, and the rest is gravy. The rest, basically, you're not counting on unless you take it out and make it safe. That's what I think you're doing, which is just exactly brilliant. And it's just the way we play the casino. We go to Las Vegas, we leave our wallet with the credit cards in the hotel room. We take $200 to the tables.
Okay,
and
so
yep.
But Dan, the one thing I would challenge with you is economics tells us the future will be different than the past. That you don't know. And case in point, in the NASDAQ had a 90% drop from between 2000 and 2002. It took companies like Microsoft 10 to 12 years to break even from where they were at the height of the tech boom. We are in another tech boom. So I would agree that, over 100 years, maybe the market, is great. But there are periods of time in history, 1929 to 1945. There's periods in the 60s and 70s where the market was flat. There were periods from 2000 to 2010 where the S&P 500 made nothing over almost a decade. Yes, over the long run, stocks can do well, but we do not know that. That was based on the free market hypothesis, which with all this government debt, we may not be in a truly free market. And some would say we aren't in a free market now. Is our market truly free? I mean, you have like 10 companies control 50% of the whole economy. So I would say I appreciate your point, which is over the long run, stocks get less riskier if you hold them for decades instead of years. But I would say if someone is in retirement or nearing retirement, you should have some money that is what I would call sure thing money that, if you need 10 grand a month to live, that 10 grand a month shouldn't come from the market. That 10 grand a month should come from pension, Social Security, annuities, cash, bonds, treasuries, things that are ultra conservative because you don't want to have to ever sell. So that's kind of, I guess, a merger of the two thoughts. You want to comment on that, Larry, and then we'll go back to Dan.
I think kind of all three saying pretty much the same thing. I don't think Dan's necessarily saying I got Dan's name right, saying that stocks are for sure safe over the long run. What he's saying, I think, is what you just said, which is to invest for the upside. Don't spend out of things that are risky until you've made them safe. It's a very simple rule. Don't, if you're in the middle, you took your $200 to the Mirage Hotel Casino in Vegas. It just turned into $1,000. You just hit the numbers, whatever, and don't start buying things. Don't start buying something for $1,000 while you're still playing with that money, because you may lose it all, and then you've got the $1,000 expenditure that you can't afford. So wait until you leave the casino to spend any winnings, and wait until you've taken your stocks and transformed them into safe assets until you spend them. That's really what people intuitively, I think, are doing, and this is really just trying to describe it. And our software, Maxify.com, actually does upside investing for people. We are adding that this month to the program. So people can actually do upside investing and realize that if they put more in the market, they're going to have a lower floor to the living standard, but more upside. If they put less in the market, they're going to have a higher floor to their living standard, but less upside in that case.
I don't think a lot of people are doing that, though. In the financial industry, it's put 60% of your money in stocks, 40% in bonds, take 3% out. I think what you're doing is very clever and very new. We'll talk about that. And Dan, if you have a follow-up, hold on for the second to last break of the hour. Give us a call, folks, 888-988-JOSH if you want the free book, Money Magic, when you schedule and keep your no-obligation year-end financial review. We'll reveal more shockers on the Money Magic book. This is fun to co-host with Larry Kotlikoff. Didn't expect it today, but I'm really getting into this new book, Money Magic. It has a lot to add to the financial discussion. And folks, if you want the Maxify Planner, if you want the Maximize My Social Security Planner, we'll give you that free. You'll be able to simulate your financial picture for free at 888-988-JOSH when you schedule and keep your no-obligation review. We'll be back after these messages.
Hey, meet you out on the first tee?
Yeah, I'll be right there. Just reading this article.
On what?
New bill Congress passed. Looks like it's going to affect the value of all retirement savings plans. My financial guy didn't tell me about this when I saw him the other day.
Well, my guy did, and we made a plan. You may have heard of him, Josh Jelinski.
Josh Jelinski is your guy?
Listen, if you're 10 years or less from retirement,
which I am,
Josh will give you a free economic plan, which includes retirement planning, a 27-point checklist to make sure your income lasts as long as you live. He'll even help you navigate the current tax code.
I'm definitely going to call Josh.
Cool, but first, can we play some golf?
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program, for your free economic plan. 888-988-JOSH. 888-988-JOSH. 888-988-JOSH.
Josh Jelinski, the financial quarterback here. In these uncertain financial times, it is imperative that you guard your financial future. If you call within the next 3 minutes, we will offer our complimentary bear market survival guide, which will detail steps to help your plan to potentially survive the COVID-19 crisis. The bear market survival guide will cover how you might still be able to retire amid a volatile economic climate. We will throw in our complimentary 27-point ultimate game plan for retirement. Call us at 888-988-JOSH, 888-988-5674 for your bear market survival guide.
Call Josh Jelinski, host of the popular Financial Quarterback radio program. 888-988-JOSH. 888-988-JOSH.
And we're back. Is Dan still on? Does Dan have a follow-up question? Okay, I guess Dan's gone. Okay.
Dan, not Dan. Okay, sorry.
So let's talk about more shockers as revealed in your book, Money Magic. I don't think that one tip
You want to talk
given.
about borrowing for college? That's a pretty good one.
Maybe. Well, we have a young man who has some questions for you. So we'll get him on, our new intern, Ben.
Sure.
So,
Hey,
Ben, you're on with Larry Kotlikoff, professor at Boston University, best-selling author, and a guy who ran for president as well. So.
Hey, Mr. Kotlikoff, can you hear me?
Yeah, Ben. Hi. How are you doing?
I am well. Thanks for asking. So obviously I'm
Sure.
a little new in the financial biz, and I have a few odd questions, and I might speak for a lot of the young men and women out there. So obviously there's a lot of kids just like us who are making minimum wage and don't really know exactly what our financial future is. So we're just kind of living penny to penny right now.
Sure.
So obviously there's high gas prices, college is crazy and nuts, and we're not really sure what to do. So what is something that we could be doing with our money right now? Is frugality really the answer? Or should we be frugal with our money and then investing it and relying on those investments?
So Ben, I think your biggest asset right now is your human wealth. You probably don't have too much financial money to invest. If you do have financial wealth, some money in your checking account that you can actually invest, the best thing to do is pay off student loans if you have any, or credit card bills, or get into, and certainly you want to make sure that you're contributing to your 401k plan so you get the employer's match. But otherwise, you want to be investing and paying off high interest rate debts, because that's a safe, sure thing. But the real thing that you want to invest in is in your human wealth, in your earnings capacity. And I talk really from the beginning. The first chapter is my daughter the plumber. I'm Jewish. I think Josh is Jewish. The old expression of Jewish mothers was my son the doctor. People wanted to be mothers were basically trying to say how proud they were about their child who became a doctor. But today, a plumber can make more than a doctor, and it can be a female plumber, doesn't have to be a male plumber. So you want to look for careers. You want to look carefully at what careers are paying, carefully at where you can earn the most in a particular career. You could be working as an audiologist in Jackson, Mississippi versus Los Angeles. Well, where do you earn more money? Probably LA, but given the cost of living in LA, it might be much cheap. Your living standard might be much higher in Jackson, given the taxes and given the cost of housing in Jackson, Mississippi. There's a great website that the BLS has. It's described in the book that helps you look at different occupations and what they pay and where they pay the most, and it gives you some idea of what initial entry earnings are and what end of career earnings are. So one of the things I say in the book is that you should try and find a career and jobs within a career that other people hate and that you love. So think about being a mortician. There are some people out there who doesn't bother them dealing with clients who are rather quiet, right? They're not upset by death or dealing with with corpses, and they can make a killing by entering this profession relative to being like an audiologist, or they might think about fitting somebody with a prosthetic, an artificial leg. That's not that much different than fitting somebody with a hearing aid, but it pays significantly more. So if you have the stomach for that and the psychological balance for that, these people need help, and you might find it much more rewarding than helping somebody with a hearing aid. And helping people in time of a death you may be just really good at that, whereas most people hate it. So there's a big premium for that occupation, and that's the one you want to take, something that you like and everybody else hates. Look for those kinds of professions and look at all this very valuable information on the Bureau of Labor Statistics website about occupational payoffs. And then don't stop there. Don't choose an occupation and a job and just sit back. You always want to be on the market, the job market. You always want to be looking around. Should I switch careers? Should I switch jobs? Will my job be automated? Am I going to be forced out when I get to be 50 because of age discrimination? Is this something or they're going to have me drive around the country 8 days a week? Obviously, it can't be 8 days, but are they going to run me ragged? Or do you have gray hairs in the company? If you come and work in a company and you see that there's nobody over 50 working there, that's not a place you want to be, because it might be that as you work in that company, your earnings rise very steeply, but they're going to basically kick you out either directly or indirectly when you're 50. So
that's a great point. And by the way, we have many people over 50 at our company. I found that they're some of the best workers we have. We have
my Social Security engineer is like 75 in our software company.
Wonderful. Well, folks, Professor Kotlikoff, always fun. Folks, get the book Money Magic, An Economist's Secrets to More Money.
The preceding program was sponsored by the Jelinski Advisory Group.
Any awards, rankings, or recognition by unaffiliated third parties or publications, including 5-Star Wealth Manager, Advisory of the Year finalist by Senior Market Advisor, and Top of the $1 Million Roundtable, are in no way indicative of the advisor's future performance or any individual client's investment success. No award, ranking, or recognition should be construed as a current or past endorsement of Josh Jelinski or Wealth Quarterback LLC. Information regarding specific awards, rankings, or recognitions is available on the Wealth Quarterback website at Jelinsky.org. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. Investment strategies such as asset allocation, diversification, or rebalancing do not assure or guarantee better performance and cannot eliminate the risk of investment losses. There are no guarantees that a portfolio employing these or any other strategy will outperform a portfolio that does not engage.
I want to get him on video doing this.
Looks like he already logged on. Yep, he just let him go.
Okay,
Something
so
was wrong.
The sound was bad.
How is the sound on your end?
It says the sound is barely audible.
How is the sound on your end? Hey, bud.
I got an email complaint at 9:33. Just turned on your YouTube and the sound is barely audible.
We got that more than once, like once before, but it's hard to, I mean...
We don't really get that with this. I understand you guys don't like that I go like this.
Yeah, well, this was mine and Tom's doing. We talked about it yesterday, and I tested it.
Go ahead of COVID's unpredictable moves until we're out of the woods. We are the voice of New York. 710 WOR.
An iHeart radio station.
And we've got 56 degrees at 11 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Paul DeCastro. It was a terrifying night in the Midwest. The death toll is rising after a catastrophic tornado outbreak hit several states. At least 50 people are dead after the twisters touched down in Arkansas, Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Mississippi, and Tennessee last night. Hundreds of thousands of homes and businesses without power. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said a single tornado ripped across Kentucky for over 200 miles and did extensive damage, especially in the town of Mayfield. Governor Beshear fears that up to 100 Kentuckians could be dead.
This has been one of the toughest nights in Kentucky history, and some areas.
Is a good philosophy or a message to send?
It's like, especially today, you could tell, you could say like,
Yeah, it was a lousy question. It was just what I...
No, it was a good question. No, it was a great question. It was a good answer by him.
Yeah.
Your audio to me is, I mean...
I don't know, I just got...
Maybe their earbuds are trash, not ours.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's possible that we...
Absolutely. It was much better, the sound.
Just need to order you a nicer headset.
Unbearable.
If Tom bought it, he probably bought you the least expensive one.
Buys these things
The
on the
Sennheisers those are $150.
The headset he has?
Yeah.
The one he's wearing right now that he hates?
No, that one. They're both very expensive, he said.
Return this.
There's no way that one's expensive. The one he hates?
No, he gets
He gets
quality stuff.
All right. Usually the more expensive ones are comfortable.
Yeah, well,
this looks cheap. Why can't we get like iPods or something? Like Apple AirPods. They're comfortable. This I want you to be in charge of returning this stuff at Amazon.
yeah.
Tom is so busy, he often
I told Tom he needs to go to he needs medication right away. He has a really bad upper respiratory infection. I can hear it on the phone.
Tom, do you have COVID?
He doesn't have. Hold on.
He had COVID.
Could have it again. Tom, I want you to call my doctor.
Here he is.
Can we do our clubhouse test? And
One sec. Hey, Josh says you have to go to the doctor.
Yeah, I know. Hold on. Do you hear Ernesto too?
I'm here.
Hold on.
I'm the
Hi
one
there.
talking.
Tom, I'm going to give you the number and email address of the doctor.
Both of you guys can hear each other, right?
No, we're not testing. We're not testing things.
I do want to test.
We're gonna clubhouse, but we didn't do that yet. He's sending you Dr. Dr. X info so you can get
They will
telemedicine.
With you over the phone.
Get telemedicine.
Hold on. You're